the value of business relationships and how to keep them. I'm Arthur Petropoulos, managing partner here at Hillview Partners. We're a middle market, lower middle market M&A and capital advisory firm helping companies generating $1 to $10 million in pre-tax earnings to sell their businesses or secure capital. My 8 years of running Hillview Partners and a decade prior to that working in investment banking, private equity, corporate development, been blessed to build a great deal of wonderful relationships with people in our business, outside of our business, buyers of companies, sellers of companies, capital providers, recipients of capital, and all of the participants in the ecosystem within the M&A capital world. A few takeaways that we've found in doing that have been that relationships matter quite a bit. Goodwill tends to compound faster than anything. And what I mean by compound, I mean growing. If every person you interact with in business tells 2 other people what a wonderful person you are, you can see the exponential growth of people thinking you're wonderful and competent and capable at what you do. And it's almost impossible to have anything grow at that level of rapidity in the fundamentals of a business, whether it be revenues, profits, margins. And so we always like to say goodwill compounds faster than anything else, and it's the relationships that create and manifest that goodwill. And so this is part 1 of 2 videos, but in each video I want to go over kind of 4 key observations, tips, takeaways, suggestions as to why relationships are important, and some of our takeaways on how to optimize those relationships, how to maintain them, how to retain them, how to nurture them in a way that creates a long-term benefit. Because I do think in this world that you can get somewhat far on your own. However, it's really the crux of meaningful relationships that's going to take you beyond what you may be able to do solely with your own grit and determination. So look, agree, disagree. These are just some of our observations, some of my personal experiences. So today we'll dig into numbers 1 through 4. Later in the week we'll do numbers 5 through 8. But number 1, hope for agreement in outcomes, not agreement in philosophy. I think too much in business we try to get everybody on the same page of seeing things precisely the way we do, agreeing on precisely the theory that we were talking about, the sentiment that we are feeling. And while we want to validate those feelings and that we all understand where each other is coming from, we say let's look for the agreement in outcome. The best we can sometimes do is get everybody to do the same thing versus feel the same way. The latter being almost impossible. Everyone's going to have a slightly different opinion. But if we can get an agreement in outcome, then you can say, look, I understand your opinion, we can respect it, but I'm glad we're on the same page, but the next step we're going to take is the same. Number 2 is the idea of compromise versus righteous solitude. We used to say in life you need to have mercy on dealing with people, or you can be righteous and all alone. I'm Greek, so I can poke fun at my own heritage, but if you go to Astoria in New York, there's all these side-by-side properties and houses with shared driveways, and you used to see old Greek guys sitting outside eating watermelon, and the old joke goes that they're all cousins that don't talk to each other. And so the same concept or sentiment can be applied in business, is that there's a level of compromise, again kind of building off the first concept, that you don't necessarily always need to agree conceptually on something if you can agree on the outcome. And so in prong number 1 we talked about agreeing in the outcome. Prong number 2, you may even disagree in what the outcome is or should be, but if you can come to a compromise in the sense of, okay, we'll both give a little bit here, and oftentimes that can keep things moving forward. And again, you can be self-righteous and really club people over the head with things, but what I have found in business over these years is that people will far more remember the opportunity you could have stuffed something down their throat that you did not, more than necessarily the time that you could and you still did. Now again, compromise does not mean concession. Compromise does not mean acquiescence to something you strongly disagree with, or that is antithetical to the spirit or agreement of the deal world in our world, but in whatever business or relationship you're discussing. However, there are times where compromise is important, and it does push things further along. Number 3, do the right thing when you have nothing to gain from it. We are talking to people all day in business. I'm on the phone half the day, on Zoom meetings the other half of the day, writing emails the other half of the day, putting materials together the other half of the day, and in the 9 halves of a day that comprise every day, there's lots of little pieces that come off of things that could be helpful to someone. Somebody needs an attorney, somebody needs an accountant, someone has a deal that they're looking to sell, someone has a thing they're looking to buy, and it hits a spark somewhere else where you say, that person needed this, that person needed this. And in some situations, there's people we can connect where there's some benefit to us, but in many, many situations, there's people we can connect or that we could just forget about, connecting to people or giving someone a compliment or reaching out to someone or following up with someone where there's nothing for us to gain except in the goodwill. And I think building off of that is the idea of don't do things for people if you'd only be happy if you got a particular response. If you're going to do something nice for somebody, if you're going to do something in an unsolicited manner that's helpful to someone, just be happy in the fact that you did it. Don't wait for a certain response, because inevitably you're going to set yourself up for some level of disappointment if there's not the requisite level of appreciation that you're looking for. And so, going to the next topic, it kind of ties into the continuation of the idea of just doing the right thing when it's right to do, is the idea that the world is small. And so I'd say first off, just to finish the prior thought, is doing all of those right things over a long enough period of time, you're going to realize it's a fairly small world, and your reputation is going to be built for either doing those things or not, and you don't know what kind of benefits that has down the track. If I told you how many times something came out of the woodworks that we needed at the right time because someone said, you know what, you were a good person to this person prior, you did the right thing here, we knew you had treated this person the right way, and therefore we're going to help you out here. It comes in handy, and call it divine providence, karma, whatever you want to say. Even if you're purely thinking of it from a self-interested standpoint, over a long enough period of time will benefit you. And so, to the fourth point, to continue it, is that the world is a small place, and furthermore, it's hard to navigate that world if you've burned bridges, even if you had a good reason to burn them. There's that expression, don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Think of the world as a very small place, and there's lots of bridges that connect all of these areas, and if you burn a bridge, it's more difficult to navigate. Now, you might have a very valid reason to have burned the bridge, where someone did you wrong, someone retreated on their word, someone did this, someone did that. I have found in business that as much on the short term as it feels good to proverbially punch someone in the face in a business situation where they've done you wrong, it's 9 times out of 10 better to just move on, lick your wounds. Again, does not mean acquiesce, does not mean concede, does not mean celebrate, does not mean be thrilled about what happened, but no need to make 2 wrongs try to equal a right. Just take your beatings, reflect on yourself and how you could have avoided it, and avoid it again in the future. You'd be surprised at the things that come of it. I've seen in business where people have come to us and said, you know what, I saw what you did not do, even though you may have had the right to in that particular situation, and because of that, we think more highly of you, and we want to bring you into this other situation. That's just one example, and even if nothing comes of it, though, it's still, you're going to find that if you start painting little pieces off the map, you're going to paint yourself into a corner very quickly. And so, our observations on business relationships, why they are important, how to keep them. 4 of our observations from today to recap. 1, hope for agreement in action, not agreement in philosophy. 2, compromise versus righteous solitude. 3, do the right thing even when you have nothing to gain from it. 4, the world is a small place and it's harder to traverse with burned bridges. So next video, we're going to talk about 4 more concepts, 4 more observations, 4 more takeaways. Hope the week's getting off to a good start for everyone. Keep pushing forward. God bless. We'll see everyone next time.